Mommy?
With her small tender hands, the girl claws incessantly at the soil of her mother's grave. At just 4 years old, she has no concept of what death truly means. She only wants her mother to wake up and hold her once more. She digs for an eternity, yet her mother never stirs from beneath the earth. Utterly exhausted, she finally collapses onto the grave, sobbing uncontrollably. Surprisingly, her mother appears behind her at that very moment.
I love this song. Boom, boom. Oh, my bell, turn it up. Seeing the mother, she yearns for day and night. The girl finally beams with a long-lost smile.
But the question remains, is what she sees actually real? Or to put it another way, has the girl followed her mother into heaven? The girl's name is Ponette. At 4 years old, she lost her mother forever. With her arm in a cast, her heart is heavy with an immeasurable longing. The adults told her that her mother had gone to heaven. But Ponette is convinced that her mother will eventually return. She waits. She searches, she cries, and she prays. This lonely little star, with her innocent persistence, fights against the cruelest of goodbyes. Youngest best actress in film history, moved hundreds of millions to tears. Today we delve into the film Ponette to see how a 4-year-old child grapples with the finality of death and parting. Months ago, a tragic car accident took away her mother, shattering 4-year-old Ponette's entire world. While sketching a puppy on her cast, her father gently breaks the news.
You see in my mind, if I could be with you too.
I made some promises in my room. At 4, Ponette couldn't possibly grasp what those words meant. On the way home, her father choked back tears, blaming his wife's clumsiness, saying she was always so careless even when she hadn't been drinking. Second, he wasn't speeding, and he knew this road like the back of his hand. How could things go wrong on such a familiar road, separating them forever by the veil of death? However, upon hearing her father's words, Ponette immediately protested. Afterward, the father and daughter visited the site of the accident. Her father even had her spit and swear a vow, promising that she would go on living bravely. Ponette didn't really understand her father's words. All she could do was obey. And her father carried her to the car and told her plainly that her mother was dead and had left them. But to 4-year-old Ponette, the concept of death was incomprehensible. She stubbornly believed that her mother had only left for a little while. Though she didn't grasp the meaning of death, she could see her father's profound grief. So she repeated the words her father had just taught her.
Who do you see? Let go.
They can be in that too. After the funeral, her father had to go far away to work and earn a living to ensure a better future for his daughter. He left his daughter in the care of her auntie. Seeing her father about to leave, Ponette clutched the car's side mirror, crying and begging him not to go. Her father told her not to cry, or else he would be consumed by sadness too. Ponette was obedient. She instantly hushed and stopped her crying. Her father even took off his watch and gave it to her. He told her to listen to the ticking whenever she missed him. It was like his own heartbeat. That way, he would always be with her. So Ponette began her stay at her aunt's house. To her, the passing of her mother felt like a long farewell, though she had no idea how long it would last. The next morning, Ponette told her cousins, "I saw Mommy in my dream last night. She lives in a castle with golden tiles and red walls. There are also many colorful cows and sheep all around. At night, my mother would still hold me in her arms as I slept." What a poetic dreamscape this is. From then on, she would lie in bed every day, hoping to see her mother again in her dreams. However, heaven did not grace the child again. From that point on, she never dreamed of her mother again. So she went to her aunt and said, "Mommy didn't come to see me last night.
But as for me, what I see comes from the very bottom of my heart. We should look up. We want to see you get over it so you can be loved even more." But what worried her aunt was that Ponette refused to admit it was only a dream.
She firmly believed that her mother had simply gone to a place called heaven and just wasn't able to come back yet. One day, her cousin came to ask her to play, but Ponette didn't want to go. She wanted to stay and wait for her mother. Her cousin seemed to understand death, saying that when people die, they never come back. If they could come back, my late grandfather would have returned long ago. Ponette disagreed. To her grandpa hadn't returned because no one was waiting for him. In truth, her cousins invited her to play every day in an attempt to make her forget her mother, fearing that if this continued, she would eventually suffer a breakdown. But Ponette remained unmoved and left with no choice. The siblings went off to play by themselves. Once they were gone, Ponette gazed innocently at the sky and whispered softly,
"Maybe not on Monday, it's you."
Watching Ponette, her aunt felt an indescribable heartache as she saw her like this every day. She told her to eat, but Ponette refused. Having not eaten all day, she insisted she wasn't hungry. Helpless, her aunt tried once more to gently explain the cruel reality. "Mommy has gone to a place far, far away, and she won't be coming back, even though your mother isn't here with you anymore. She's watching over you from somewhere every day. She can feel your thoughts and hear the words you say, but she truly isn't coming back." Despite this, her aunt's words failed to change her mind. One day, her cousin told her brother about a spell that could bring someone back to life. The boy asked what the spell was, and his sister said, "The spell can't be spoken aloud, it must be whispered." So, the little brother leaned in to listen. Clearly, the two siblings were only playing a game, but Ponette took the spell to heart. She ran off to the hills behind the house alone, and, standing in the middle of the wilderness, she shouted the resurrection spell. Then she sat quietly and waited for her mother to appear. To please her mother, she even gathered pine cones and flowers as a welcome gift. But as time ticked by and darkness began to fall, her mother was still nowhere to be seen, and tears began to flow. Yet she refused to give up, returning to the hillside every day to wait for her mother. Unable to watch Ponette continue like this, her aunt called her father back. Her father worried that she might lose her mind if she went on like this, so he spoke to his daughter with a firm hand.
It was clear that Ponette didn't want to go back, but she couldn't resist her father and followed him home, fighting back tears.
Hoping to bring her back to reality, her father sent her to boarding school. There she made new friends, but among the group of vibrant children, Ponette always seemed out of place. One day, a classmate told her excitedly, "To speak with those in heaven, you must first pass God's trials and become a child of God." Her classmate's words gave Ponette hope, and she quickly asked how to pass these tests, for she desperately wanted to speak to her mother. So the classmate began to teach her the first trial was to brave the fires of hell. Ponette quickly passed the first test. That evening, Ponette went to her teacher and asked to be taken to God's room. So the teacher led her to the school chapel.
"With a pure and single mind, I want to be your child, Mom. Please, I miss my mother so much. Don't be sick anymore. I love you." She stood before God and prayed sincerely, hoping to see her mother again soon.
The next night, she returned to God's room alone, longing for God to hear her heart's plea.
"Sister, do you think my mom will? Why hasn't it happened yet?" Thank you. I'll buy you a little something.
After praying, she waited for a while, but God remained silent. Dejected, she had no choice but to return to the dormitory. Gazing at the ceiling, she whispered to her mother, "Can you hear me? I've told God everything I wanted to say to you." During class the next day, Ponette told the teacher she felt unwell and wanted to go back to the dormitory to rest. The teacher sent a classmate to accompany her back. The moment the classmate left, she stood up and continued to pray against the wall.
"You're just a silly bear. Who is the champion now? Is it true you can play Mamba?" "He won't do it either. Go on, because I won't wake up."
But no matter how hard she tried, or how sincere her heart was, reality is harsh, and in the end, her prayers went unanswered. Innocent Ponette thinks it's because she failed God's test, so she asks her cousin to help her with the second one. The second challenge is to stay alone in a dark barrel for 5 minutes. For a 4-year-old, this is absolutely terrifying, but to see her mother, sooner even as she sobbed in fear, she endured it for the full 5 minutes. Before long, Ponette had passed one test after another, but in the end, she realized all her efforts had come to nothing. Instead of her mother's embrace, she only found the bullying of a mean boy.
"The dinner treat to me, this could get to me short. But if you didn't try this water, that didn't hurt me." Sigh, because you know my real. Because you know my real. Let go of me. mission. And then you'll face him. A child without a mother is truly a pitiful thing.
The boy's words were like a knife piercing her heart. In the middle of the night, Pawnette crawled into her cousin's bed. She smiled and told her sister, "I finally saw Mommy in my dream." She even gave me a hug, and I could smell a scent like candy on her. She then asked her cousin to take a sniff. The cousin sniffed and shook her head, finding no scent at all. Realizing no one understood her early the next morning, she left school alone with her backpack before anyone else was awake. Under the morning sun, she walked straight up the mountain, all the way to her mother's grave. She first tried to summon her mother back with her mind, but it still didn't work, so she used her tiny innocent hands to dig into the soil of the grave, crying and calling out as she dug.
Ah!
Mommy!
Don't mistake us for the dead. Exhausted from digging, she eventually collapsed onto her mother's grave and sobbed uncontrollably.
Just then, a woman approached and gathered her up. It was her mother, who had finally returned. Pawnette could hardly believe her eyes that she was actually seeing her mother again. She told her mother how lonely she had been all by herself. She begged her mother to take her away so they could leave this place together. Her mother said, "Every cry you make, every prayer you whisper, I can hear you. I simply hadn't shown myself until now, but having come back this time, I want you to promise me one thing."
What do you want? Don't let me leave you. No, oh no. It's just so hard for me. I'm not ready for this at all. She added that one day everyone goes to heaven. She had simply gone there a little earlier than the rest.
Pawnette finally smiled as her mother led her by the hand down the hillside. Fearing her daughter might catch a chill, she took out a new sweater for her to put on. Pawnette ran joyfully across the mountain since the day her mother left. This was the happiest day of her life. Later she pleaded with her mother once more not to leave, but to stay. But her mother explained that she had died and no longer belonged to this world. Hearing this, Pawnette's eyes were once again filled with tears. But she didn't fuss or act out, remembering the promise she had just made, that she would no longer be a child consumed by tears. As they said goodbye, her mother told Pawnette to go to her father, to live the rest of her life happily with him. And to be a brave girl, I will be watching over you both from heaven.
Okay, I will.
We should dance. Oh yes. That's enough, Dad.
When Pawnette turned back to steal one last look, she found that her mother had vanished. And at that very moment, her father finally found her. Pawnette told her father that she had played with her mother all day. Her mother said she would never return, and all she had to do now was keep her promise, to live her life happily. Clearly this time Pawnette has finally emerged from the shadows. Often, we are not weeping for the departed, but grieving for ourselves who are left behind. Pawnette finally realized that her mother would never come back. Instead of being swallowed by grief, she began to grow carried by love. It turns out the most painful parting isn't a final goodbye, but living on with your memory and choosing to live well. This little lone star, once flickering alone in the darkness, has finally found the courage to keep shining in this world. Pawnette is a 1996 French drama, also known as Pity the Little Daughter of God. It deconstructs death through a child's pure gaze, never forced yet profoundly touching. It captures a child's confusion, stubbornness, and vulnerability in the face of loss, focusing on 4-year-old Pawnette's innocent grief and her journey of self-healing, exploring death, farewell, and growth through a child's perspective. Young actress Victoire Thivisol became the youngest Venice Film Festival Best Actress in history, delivering a performance both delicate and deeply moving.